patriots, and I'm right smack dab in the middle of a bunch of them today. All of you who are the grassroots of this country, known as Americans for Prosperity, God bless you, thank you. I bring you greetings from the largest rich state in America, from the great state of Texas. We're a little bit less than 6 months away from this process of starting to vote for the next president of the United States. And with so many candidates running on the Republican primary, the spiritual gift of discernment is probably required in this political environment that we're in. You know, the Apostle Paul, he wrote to Timothy and he said, the time will come when people will put up, or they will not put up, with sound doctrine. He said, instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. They will turn their ears away from the truth and turn aside to myths. Some candidates will say what you want to hear to soothe those itching ears. But the question is not whether we nominate a candidate for president who says the right thing, but a leader who has a record of doing the right thing. You see, we've had 6 years, actually a little over 6 years, almost 7 years of a president who talks a good game, but his actions and his policies are an absolute mess. How far we have come from those heady days of the president's soaring speeches in front of millions of fawning Europeans. From those Roman columns that served as his backdrop at the 2008 Democrat convention. From the rhetoric about healing of our nation and the stopping of the rise of the oceans. Yeah, see, today we know what hope and change finally meant. There's a delusional mindset, absent from the confines of reality. The State of the Union address has become the State of Delusion address. There's a man who says that ISIS is on the run, where the largest state sponsor of terrorism is deemed to be an honest broker in meeting the terms of a nuclear agreement. This delusion is so strong that just this last week, we learned details of a secret deal with these side agreements with Iran and the United Nations inspectors. Iran's going to be allowed to do its own inspections. They're going to be able to go into one of the most secretive places, that Parchin nuclear site, and do their own inspections. No wonder our administration has tried to keep it secret. This is a national embarrassment. For decades, America has lived up to the principle that we negotiate from a position of strength. And under this president, we negotiate from a position of weakness. When all you offer up is words, free of action to back up those words, your allies, they figure it out pretty quick. They don't trust you. And your adversaries are going to test you. This is a president who thought he could speak things into existence. I thought he was thinking about the first chapter of Genesis. I mean, seriously, if he had, it's been 2 years since he addressed the issue of Assad. He said, Assad must go. He's still there. Aggression, whether it's on the part of Russia or whether it's ISIS or whether it's Syria, doesn't respond to just words. It responds to strength. Absence of strength and resolve, words from even the most powerful man in the world mean nothing. They're meaningless. It is time for us to end American weakness.
Wow.
As Republicans, we cannot repeat the mistakes of the last 8 years. We need to place a premium on action, not words. We need to be talking about a record, not rhetoric. We don't need to be relying upon a cult of personality over durable personal qualities. Now listen, I'll be the first to admit, I am not the best talker in this race. I admit that. I've been known to mangle a few words. I've been known to lose my train of thought from time to time. But I have never forgotten about where I came from and what I believe. Never. My conservatism is rooted in the soil and the soul of a place called Paint Creek. My mom and dad were tenant farmers. For more than just a few years, we used an outhouse. My mama washed my sister and myself on the front porch in a #2 wash tub. I didn't ever think we were poor because I had everything I needed. I had these wide open fields that I could walk along and run around in with my favorite dog. I had a Shetland pony, had a Boy Scout troop. What else could a young man want? My dreams were as vivid as the vast West Texas soil that we farmed. I believe that what a Texan can dream, a Texan can do. And by the way, I still believe that, and I believe it for all Americans. You see, it was in that place called Paint Creek that I learned the value of hard work, the value of a dollar, the importance of family, and the limitless possibilities of freedom. My conservatism is as sturdy as that red dirt that we farmed. As governor of Texas, I live by the philosophy that limited government leads to unlimited opportunity. Taxes low. We didn't spend all the money in the state of Texas. In fact, we left $6.5 billion in our rainy day fund. We implemented smart regulations so that the private sector could flourish. We stood for high standards in our classrooms, and today, Texas has the second highest high school graduation rates in America. The most sweeping tort reform in the nation. And no state did more to push back against an intrusive, overreaching federal government than Texas did. My Attorney General Greg Abbott filed close to 24 lawsuits against an overreaching federal government. We push back against Washington's intrusions for a simple reason. The Constitution is my owner's manual. And my Constitution still has a 10th Amendment in it. I stood up to this Washington machine from day one by opposing Common Core. Said no to what I call federal bribery in the form of race to the top federal education monies. I am the only governor in the race who can say that he opposed Common Core and Race to the Top from the beginning. Not once did I ever even look at it. And the reason I did it is rather simple. I will never trade freedom for federal money. Never. See, most governors running for president now say what conservative audiences want to hear, that they oppose Common Core. But things were a little different when they were governors and not campaigning. Take another issue. President Obama's massive expansion of the broken Medicaid system under Obamacare. I opposed it from day one. The same cannot be said about every governor in this race. The argument has been made that states should reclaim their share of federal dollars. But that begs the question, what about our children's share of the federal debt? Justifying Medicaid expansion on the grounds of returning federal money to your home state can only be done if you turn a blind eye to the fact that we are $18 trillion in debt. Yeah. See, the idea that Washington has this federal pot of Ohio Medicaid money that would have gone to some other state is just nonsense. That money doesn't come from an endless vault of money in Washington. It is borrowed from bankers in China and children in Cleveland and Columbus. That's where it comes from. I oppose Medicaid expansion because the answer to our health care woes is not to put 1 million more Texans on the government rolls, but to make private insurance more affordable in the private marketplace. On the issue of life, I'm the most pro-life. I got the most pro-life record of any governor in America. I signed a parental consent law for teens seeking abortion. I signed a sonogram bill making sure that an unborn child is seen and heard before an abortion is performed. And when the Democrat state senator who rose to national prominence became a national celebrity on opposition to a 20-week ban on abortion, I called the legislature back into special session until that bill reached my desk. Every candidate has rightly expressed disdain about the practices, Planned Parenthood, in those videos. But I actually defunded them in the state of Texas. My fellow Republicans, we don't have to settle for 11th-hour campaign conversions to conservatism. You don't have to rely upon the rhetoric. You can check the record. And the record also shows that while the rest of America was hemorrhaging jobs, in Texas, we were creating them. By the tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands. As a matter of fact, from December of 2007 through the end of 2014, Texas created 1.5 million new jobs in this country. Without those jobs, America would be 400,000 jobs behind. I led the most successful state in the nation. A state that is churning out jobs and opportunity at an historic pace. I haven't wavered on protecting life.
on stopping the federal takeover of local classrooms, on fighting this massive takeover of our health care. I've been with you. I've been with you every step of the way. And not just on the campaign trail, but also in the governor's office. Even when I switched political parties in 1989, it wasn't because I'd changed what I believed in. It's just that what I believed in was no longer welcome in the Democrat Party. The day I switched political parties, I made both parties really happy. You know, when a candidate says he's pro-life, but runs television ads saying abortion is a decision between a woman and her doctor, when they railed against Common Core on the campaign trail, but supported it in the Capitol, when he opposes a birthright citizenship just a few short years ago after supporting a guest worker program, it kind of raises the question. If he changes his mind so easily on the campaign trail, what's to say he won't do it as the president? You can know when I go to Washington, it will not be to tinker with the Washington machine, but to dismantle it. I have not worked one day in Washington. I am not invested in that crony culture. I will not be co-opted because I will not take my orders from K Street or Wall Street. I'll take my orders from Main Street. When I go to Washington, I will declare war on government spending. Runaway agencies will be reined in because their funding will be cut. My first day in office, I will freeze all pending federal regulations and begin the process of repealing every Obama-era regulation that costs and kills jobs. See, today, that K Street corridor, it exists to lavish these hand-picked cronies with Washington largesse. 6 of the 10 wealthiest counties in America surround Washington, D.C. Not because Washington creates wealth, but because it redistributes it. This cronyism can best be described as trickle-down liberalism. Think about it. It's hand-picked pet causes that benefit from spending proposals like the stimulus plan, while they're sold on the grounds of helping small businesses on Main Street. It's money that's washed through these massive bureaucracies, and they're intended to trickle down to middle America. But you see, middle-class Americans are only getting a shrinking piece of that pie while those special interests get rich. This is corporatism. It's not capitalism. It's where the well-heeled, they keep getting richer and the rest of America gets the shaft. And you know what? I am mad as hell about it, and I'm going to Washington to do something about it. There's nothing that illustrates it more so than Dodd-Frank. Dodd-Frank regulations aimed at Wall Street is killing Main Street. There are more than 1,300 small community banks that have been shut down since Dodd-Frank went into play. Middle-class Americans are turning to lenders of last resort in the form of payday loans. Meanwhile, you got the biggest banks in America that are just getting bigger. Matter of fact, they're bigger than ever. Too big to fail wasn't ended by Dodd-Frank. It was codified into law by Dodd-Frank. has to end. I mean, I will repeal job-killing regulations and reduce job-killing taxes. We've got the highest corporate income tax rate in the Western world, and it is time to lower it. We have some of the richest energy resources in the world. It's time for us to develop them and export them. That's what we need to be doing. The days of Washington spending bills that are masquerading out there as economic stimulus, it's got to be over. Washington's idea of job creation is Solyndra. The private sector's vision of job creation is Apple. That's what we need to be getting around to in this country. Washington needs to create the environment that is conducive to job creation, and then get the heck out of the way and let the private sector do what the private sector does best. So let me put it on a bumper sticker for you. I want to go to Washington, D.C. and make Washington as inconsequential in your life as I can make it. That's what I want to do. Washington is not the fount of all wisdom. The days of central planners controlling our economy and our lives has got to end. It's time to restore power back to the states and freedom to the individuals. It's time to get Washington out of the healthcare business, out of the education business, and finally do what it is federally required to do, which is defending our shores, standing us a strong military, and defend our borders. I'm the only candidate who has experience on that border. Last summer, I looked President Obama in the eye and I said, Mr. President, if you do not secure the border, Texas will. And I deployed our National Guard. I sent our Texas Ranger recon teams. I sent our Parks and Wildlife wardens and literally put them in the river. That's where they need to be. We saw apprehensions drop by 74% when we put that manpower on the border in the right places. You see, some candidates, they want to talk a good game on border security and offer simplistic solutions like, let's build a wall. But let me be clear, a wall is only as secure as it is enforced by manpower. The key to border security, the key to border security is boots on the ground from Tijuana to El Paso to Brownsville. That's how you secure. Your trust, your vote is a sacred trust. Those who receive it should have to earn it. Not just with the right rhetoric, but with the right record. The issue of this election is not who is the best debater, but who's the best leader. Who will stand their ground in the face of criticism when the Washington elites take them on? Whose conservatism is grounded and is sturdy and is unwavering? Now, let me tell you, like a good Texan, I never backed away from a fight. And I'm volunteering to fight for this country. Just like I did when I was commissioned as an Air Force officer in 1972. America is in desperate need of leadership again. They are desperate for a president whose actions speak louder than his words. Generations of Americans have risen to the challenge of their times. None more so than that World War II generation who rescued the world from fascism. Never was it more clear to me Some years back, when I took my father back to his old air base in East Anglia, I took my dad across the English Channel one more time. He flew 35 missions over Nazi-held continent. We crossed that English Channel one more time. We went to those bluffs that overlook that beach called Omaha, where there are 9,000 graves on this windswept bluff overlooking that beach. There are 45 pairs of brothers, 33 of whom are buried side by side. There's a father and a son buried there. They're the sons of a president, 2 sons. You see, they all traded their future for our today with a final act of extraordinary sacrifice. In that American cemetery, those white crosses and stars of David all look west. West across the Atlantic. West to the America they love. West to the America they would never return home to. It struck me as I stood there in the midst of those heroes that they look upon us in silent judgment. And we have to ask ourselves, are we worthy? Are we worthy of their sacrifice? It is up to us. In this room and all across this country. It's up to us to build an America worthy of those heroes' legacy, and I might add, of our children's future. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get on with it. Let's get America